difficult for you to understand, let me just, for those who don't understand, let me just simplify it. It means if we sell the beach club and the assets that are associated to this beach club, all the money that's acquired goes back to you, as long as you've been a member in good standing for 2 years. It goes back to you. It does not go to charities. It does not go to the Township of Ocean. It does not go anywhere except back to you. That's the bylaw. I didn't write it. It's been in here for a long, long time. And I think it's a good bylaw because it guarantees that you will always have, or you will always retain, ownership rights in the Skipper's Cove Beach Club. You'll share in the money. You'll share in the money if this place is ever sold. Well, the state doesn't like that. The state of New Jersey looked at that and said, well, no, you're operating as a not-for-profit and you're not giving any money back to charity. We don't like that dissolution clause, therefore you are denied a permit for a legalized games of chance. That's one of their requirements. If you look at their list, you have to have the ability to give your money back to charity in the event of a dissolution. So they denied us. And I appealed it, and they denied us again, and then I applied a third time, and they denied us again, and it was always for the same reason. This dissolution clause they did not like. So the complication with that arises because the state of New Jersey does, in fact, allow a specialized legalized games of chance permit for certain pre-approved senior citizens groups. So with the help of Ted Gatos, we looked into this and discovered that a long, long time ago, the Beachcombers applied for and were approved as a senior citizens group, and that they didn't pay the dues on a continuing basis, and they didn't continue with the activities, and therefore the state determined that they were dormant, and since they went dormant, they lost the ability to do the legalized games of chance without reapplying. And so we never did anything with it because I saw the conflict, and I'm about to teach you this conflict here very shortly, because it's the conflict that's resulting in the current issues with the law at all levels. All right? So Ted, on the other hand, wanted to proceed with the application process for legalized games of chance. He came to me and he said, hey, it's a senior citizens group, we can do this. And I told Ted on day one, yes, I agree, you can do this. If we can get that permit reactivated, it would be a good thing for the Beachcombers. He took that to mean it would be a good thing for the Skipper's Cove Beach Club, and it would be a good thing for the men's club, and it would be a good thing for the Skipperettes. I never said that, even though he tried to say several times since then that I did say that, but I never said that because I am well aware that the Skipper's Cove Beach Club Incorporated, the parent corporation, is the one that owns the bar license, and that we were turned down by this division to get a permit to gamble. So you can't bring in another organization that says, oh, I've got permission to gamble, and oh, by the way, we're going to use your bar. It just doesn't work that way. But when he presented it as such, I said, okay, well, laws may have changed. Let me find out. So I went to the Division of Consumer Affairs and legalized games of chance. And I said, guys, this is what this guy is saying. Is it true? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. The answer was, yeah, it's true. You can get your legalized games of chance permit under the Beachcombers. I said, yeah, I understand that. And I have no problem understanding that. It's just my conflict is with the ABC rules and our club license to sell alcohol. Can they come in and gamble and be served alcohol at the same time? Well, the lady I spoke to at Division of Consumer Affairs said, absolutely not. And if you do, you have to understand the parent corporation is the one that's going to be held responsible, and all fines, it's all going to fall back on you. It doesn't matter what they do. you're the one that's going to be held responsible. I said, all right, well, that pretty much agrees with what I thought. But then she said, well, why don't you just check it out with the ABC? Now, they're different divisions. One is operating in Newark, New Jersey. The other is operating out of Trenton at state level. They said, okay, contact the ABC and see if there's a provision that they can allow for the sale of alcohol while these legalized games of chance are going on. So I did. And somewhere, it's worth it just to get it, because I think, give me a second, I'll give you the actual people who I've spoken to at the state. When I spoke to the people in Trenton, briefly described what was happening and asked him what I should do about it. He told me that you can't sell alcohol and gamble at the same time. I said, I think I know that, but I need you to tell me more about it, because if there's a way, we want to proceed with this, because these guys really want to do that, and it would be wrong to deny them the opportunity if they actually could do it. So he says, come on down, we need to talk, set up an appointment. And so he did. And the person happens to be the Senior Deputy Attorney General, Chief of the Enforcement Division. His name is Kevin Mark Schatz. There's his card. Okay? So I went down, had a meeting with him, brought all my paperwork, showed him what was going on, and basically my position was, as the president and then subsequent ex-president of the beach club, what I needed to know is there any avenue that we can make this work and not be in violation? And he said, well, what IRS status are these people, the beachcombers? What's their IRS status? So here's where it gets really bad. I showed him the application that Ted had filled out to get registered as a legalized games of chance approved business. And he did put it in the Beachcomber Senior Citizens Club to his benefit. That's a good thing. That's what he needed to do. But the form that he filled out had differing information on it. Here's one. Here's the Beachcomber Senior Citizens registration. And this is the temporary permit that they initially issued going through the Attorney General's office. These all initially looked fine to me. I didn't actually catch it until the Attorney General himself saw that the federal tax ID number that these people put on their application to the Division of Consumer Affairs just happened to be Skipper's Cove Beach Club and Company federal tax ID number. But they didn't put Skipper's Cove Beach Club Incorporated on the paperwork because that would have been rejected immediately. So what they did, little underhanded here, they put their name, Skipper's Cove Beach Club the Beachcombers Senior Citizens Club, but they used our tax ID number. State didn't catch it at first. The ABC guy did, but the state initially just said, "Oh, okay, well that's got to be their tax ID number. We'll issue this temporary registration, and with a list of instructions." Now, the list of instructions includes this form, which again should have highlighted the fact that this felony was going on. It lists the name of the bank, the address of the bank, and the name that the bank account is going to be in, and the ID number. When Ted got this form, he filled it out, and unfortunately, he again used the federal tax ID number from the Skipper's Cove Beach Club in Company to open the required single bank account that the state Attorney General's office was demanding. They needed that bank account. So he did that, and he used the Skipper's Cove Beach Club federal tax ID number, but in addition, he opened a second bank account. Stephanie Gebhardt was involved in this. They opened a second bank account, also with our federal tax ID number, and he called it an operational account. The state of New Jersey requires one account, and they want all monies that are made from gambling and expenses that are paid from gambling to be accounted for in the single account. What Ted did and Stephanie did was they created two accounts, so the monies, theoretically, from gambling will go into the one account, but all their dues for their club and their expenses and everything gets paid from another account. So when Kevin, the Deputy Attorney General, saw this, he told me, he says, this looks like they're running two bank accounts with the same gambling money, and that the account they set up, even though there's two bank numbers on here, is fraud. He says they don't have a federal tax ID number. And so that kind of caused me to backpedal a little bit, and I said, you know, listen, what they do is not always being reported to me. They kind of do things, and I get secondhand emails, and I get this stuff, so I kind of know what they're doing, but it's not something that the Skipper's Cove Beach Club and Company Incorporated is a part of. And he says he understood that. The paperwork is clear. He asked me, when is your next general meeting? And I told him it was going to be on the 19th, starts at 1 p.m. He says, I would like to be there. And I said, well, you're very welcome to be there. And if there's anything in the meantime that we could do to get this thing fixed, let's proceed in that direction. I don't think that anybody is doing this with the intent to commit fraud. I think they just think that they can do this, and they need to be told by somebody with authority that they can't do this. And then he said, you know, of course, the IRS should be involved in this. And I said, well, I understand that, and I'm going to do that to protect the beach club and to protect me personally. So yes, we've got the IRS involved. They are doing an investigation, and we'll see where that goes. But the funny thing is, and I'll end it with this, you remember probably at the last one or two or maybe even three general meetings when there was a intoxicated or presumably intoxicated man in the back of the room raising his hand and using words that sounded exactly like this. I don't give a damn about Robert's rules. I don't give a damn about the bylaws. I don't give a damn about the ABC rules. He said, this is a community, and we have to start acting as though this is a community and do things that are right for the community. He says, I know because I worked at the ABC and I wrote these laws. And then he walks out and he grabs a beer and he comes back in popping a beer right in front of all of us. So that somehow got into the conversation with the ABC. And he was really, really interested. He says, what's the guy's name? So I told him. He says, I never heard of him. And then there was another attorney. There was a group of several attorneys around this table. The other attorney got up because she had access to the computer. She said, I'll look him up. What's the spelling of his name? So I gave it to her. She came back in about 10 minutes. She says, there's nobody at all in our database with that name. And our database goes back 20 years. And he looked at me, he pointed right at me, he says, listen, he says, you are instructed to ask this individual to contact me as soon as possible. To this date, the 16th, I have not done that because I don't want to preempt what I think is going to happen on the 19th. I think it's going to be interesting. My goal, again, is to just make it right for the Skipper's Cove Beach Club so that you and I are not going to get in trouble. You and I are going to be able to safely say that we had nothing to do with this and that this is these individuals acting on their own. We certainly have the paperwork to